Hello and welcome to Precontation Points Video Snark. I read bad books so that you don't have to. I'm continuing my read-through of Breach by KI Lynn. Not the first video, go check out the others, links are posted below. Please be warned that this review contains adult material. I try my best to use metaphors and be vague, but sometimes you have to talk about a rooster. Chapter 18. The chapter opens with the author's internalized misogyny and hits hard about the boob squad, going so far as to describe the style of clothing that the women now choose to wear as streetwalker. Yes, it literally says that. Delilah also can't help but find this situation ironic when she laughs, and Jennifer tries her for reading unrelated emails rather than actually working. As Delilah leaves the office, she overhears Jennifer calling her the B word. She goes to get some coffee where Caroline sees the hickeys on Delilah's neck. Apparently Nathan has decided that Delilah is no longer allowed to wear scarves to hide her neck, and even more apparently Delilah doesn't know how to use makeup to cover the marks. Caroline says that Delilah has been going out with this mystery guy for 2 months now, and she doesn't really know much about him. Delilah promises to tell her over dinner and asks that she bring alcohol. Strong alcohol. Delilah returns to her office where she has to endure near on 30 more minutes of Jennifer's stupidity. As the woman leaves, Delilah wonders how Jennifer managed to pass the bar if she's seriously that dumb. But then she thinks that Jennifer isn't stupid, but she's play acting at being dumb on some slim hope of getting into Nathan's pants. Delilah texts Nathan that she has to tell Caroline everything about her relationship and that she trusts Caroline. After work, Delilah and Caroline go home together. As Caroline is in the bathroom, Delilah changes out from her work clothes, but then Nathan comes in with groceries and Delilah panics with the thought that he hadn't gotten her text. However, exactly as anybody could have predicted, the self-absorbed Nathan decided that not coming to Delilah's apartment didn't suit him since he wanted a little something. He picks Delilah up, puts her on the counter, and starts snacking on her. Meanwhile, I'm pretty sure that Caroline did the proverbial falling into the toilet because it's probably been at least 5 to 10 minutes and she's still in there. I'm going to scream if she remains in there while Delilah and Nathan bang, and then only comes out either when they're finished or only because the narration needs to throw in some more drama. It's only after a literal page of this necking that Delilah thinks to verbally ask him about getting her text. He claims that his phone died, but something tells me that's a lie. However, he continues to refuse to let her get a single word in and keeps insisting on how he wants to do her next, which is infuriating on so many levels. A girl should be able to tell her partner no, or to at least stop him without him insisting otherwise and talking over her. Anyway, exactly as predicted, Caroline comes out while this is going on, because of course she needed to actually catch them in the act. Granted, I thought that there'd be less pants involved, but still. Despite literally everything in this book painting Nathan as an out-of-control monster, especially where Delilah is concerned, his reaction towards Caroline is more cool and calculating. He calmly asks if she wants dinner and starts cooking something. Delilah just yearns for a drink since this wasn't how she imagined Caroline finding out. Chapter 19. There's an awkward moment as Caroline stares at Nathan, who is now cooking dinner. She then drags her friend into the other room to confront her. However, Caroline apparently doesn't remember even the book's central plot as indicated by the title, and only just views Delilah's relationship with Nathan as a more or less positive thing. But then she asks about how Delilah has said that her new boyfriend was emotionally damaged, that Nathan seems pretty put together, which is for sure one of those things that Caroline 100% does not need to know about. And I continue to shame Delilah for spilling the beans to Caroline about secrets that weren't hers to share. But Caroline continues to view this as a good thing, marches out and tells Nathan not to hurt Delilah, or else. Which is fair. But again, the company-wide policy about non-fraternization, I feel like I'm literally the only one who remembers it, and it makes me so frustrated. Like, if this book had just left it out, then I wouldn't even care. This book could have and should have just had 2 co-workers who didn't want the office to know that they were making the beast with 2 backs. But no! The theme of this book was indicated with literally the title. The narration brought up the anti-fraternization clause early on. It hasn't been mentioned, even in passing, since. Anyway, Caroline asks about how this relationship even happened, and they tell her, but Nathan flips out when Caroline starts asking about love. Which, is it normal for people who have been in a romantic relationship to declare their love for one another after less than 2 months? Does Caroline think that this is normal? He leaves, and Delilah tells her friend the too long didn't read version of what's wrong with Nathan without actually telling her anything. She also kind of explains about how they don't use terms like boyfriend, girlfriend, but rather mine, and that they usually spend the nights in each other's beds together. Caroline also talks about Andrew and the bizarre pissing contest the two men have over Delilah. He's a guy, and therefore all other guys are possibilities of taking you. I love the idea. Even Caroline reinforces that women are objects to be owned or stolen away at the whims of another man. That Delilah is a person who has her own free will literally never occurs to even Caroline right now. This is sexism at its finest, honestly. Anyway, Caroline tries to ask about what Nathan did before this. She suggests Googling him, but Delilah says that she only wants to hear what happened from Nathan himself, which is fair, something that Hugh should probably be told to her in his own time. Caroline seems to think that this kind of behavior means that Delilah is in love. Why is Delilah respecting Nathan's boundaries and not pressing him for info about what's clearly a traumatic event in his life, somehow now equated with being in love? Like, I consider that to be basic human decency, but go off, I guess. Nathan comes back from having gone upstairs to change. Caroline blurts out that she'd Google him, but promises not to tell. He says that what she read online was only just a small, distorted part of what happened, and she'd better not spread lies around. After that, they move on to lighter topics. Caroline and Delilah tell him about the Boop Squad, and he proposes that they call it the BS, which is honestly pretty great. After Caroline leaves, Delilah asks if his phone actually died. He says it did, but literally in the middle of reading her text, which is like, nope. I'm having a really hard time believing him about it, but considering Caroline's enthusiastic response in regards to the relationship, I guess it doesn't really matter all that much. But I continue to stand by my original assessment that even if Nathan knows things, but he doesn't want to do it or doesn't agree with it, he'll just do what he wanted to anyway. This behavior isn't new, so whatever. But he promises to make it up to her in bed. He then carries her into the other room and does just that. After they're finished, Nathan tells her that he meant it when he told Caroline how beautiful and sexy Delilah is, that she deserves people to tell her this often. Delilah is overwhelmed by it and starts to cry, and Nathan comforts her. He also calls her Honey Bear, which, not touching that. Chapter 20. Later that week, thanks to the Boop Squad, we became aware of the accused offenders of the alleged affair. Sadie from our accounting department and Will from tax law. They were not only heading a relationship, but were expecting. Wait, what? Who are these people? Are we supposed to care about this? Or is this the book finally remembering to get back on track that the anti-fraternization clause is still around and somebody is about to get punished? And that Delilah and Nathan are seriously going to have to rethink their relationship because of whatever happened to Sadie and Will? I knew Jack was kind and just trying to protect his business and his employees, but if he couldn't amend it for this couple, I knew there was no hope for Nathan and I. Either way, we would be separated at work and both of us fired for our indiscretion. That's literally what's going on here. A long stretch of time in which even the authors seem to have forgotten the original purpose. And then she suddenly goes, shoot, things are going too well. What can I do to break them up a little? Oh, right. The breach. Anyway, so this rumor starts going around the office. The narration never actually bothers to say if Sadie and Will actually get fired simply for this bizarre rumor, but Delilah is worried about her future with Nathan because of it. 2 weeks pass since the Caroline incident, and life kinda goes on after that. One evening, Delilah goes to Nathan's apartment with groceries, and she's surprised to find another man there. Nathan introduces the man as his father, George Thorne. After Delilah leaves to start dinner, she overhears George pointedly ask Nathan if he's abusing Delilah because she's covered in bruises from bondage happy fun times, which is a fair question to ask. Seeing bruises on a woman being introduced as her son's girlfriend is probably insanely startling. However, Delilah is having none of this and storms back into the room to tell George that Nathan doesn't abuse her, and then she starts taking off her clothes because that's a normal thing to do in front of your boyfriend's father. I cannot. It's like the author herself has no idea how people are supposed to interact with each other. But then she says that she bruises easily and that Nathan doesn't do anything that isn't consensual, which, why did she have to take her shirt off just to tell him that? Just tell him that. This is serious, son. I want you to get better. I want you smiling again. I want to see you happy. George's gaze flickered to me. But you'll never be any of those if you don't get help. Nathan snorted in response. Yeah, because the last 3.5 years of therapy have done wonders. Look, you don't go to one session in therapy and you get instantly cured of your emotional problems. Therapy is a long-term solution. And yes, the eventual end goal of therapy is to have enough coping mechanisms that you don't need therapy anymore. But after whatever mystery trauma that almost killed Nathan is not something that you can expect to be over with the snap of your fingers. George goes on and says that it's not really going to therapy if you don't actually go. He says that Nathan has missed several months of appointments and that he hasn't told the therapist about his new relationship, and he's been going through his meds like crazy. Which, several questions. I get that Nathan is in a bad emotional place right now, but why does a grown adult need his father to be looped in on his therapy sessions so closely? If Nathan is that much of a danger to himself where his father needs to be updated about his condition constantly, you'd think Nathan would not be living by himself. This isn't how any branch of medicine works. I'm no medical professional, but I'm pretty sure that this is a violation of Nathan's HIPAA rights. Anyway, Nathan says that he'll go into another appointment, but George chides him and says that it's only because Nathan is out of his meds. George leaves after that, but not before first asking Delilah to take care of his son. After dinner, the two of them move to the sofa for some makeouts. Nathan continues to call her Honey Bear, which Delilah simultaneously hates, but also kind of enjoys in a weird way. She finally decides to call him out on his hypocrisy in regards to the Andrew situation versus the Boob Squad. He says that he has never been even remotely interested in sleeping with this woman, but Delilah actually had slept with Andrew. He is of the opinion that Andrew is in over Delilah and would love to have her back, which, yes, that guy legit cannot take a hint, but whatever. Nathan's jealousy over the entire thing is wearing thin. What does your judgment tell you to do? It says that it's better for you if we weren't together, but that line of thinking makes me want to go mad, and I find it even harder to let go of you. Because this is what we really need right now, Nathan continuing to push Delilah away. I thought that we were past all of this, but I guess regression is the name of this game. Delilah calls Nathan out, and then gets upset over what she just said. He holds her, but the damage is done. Also, why the hell did this chapter open with the reminder of the fraternization clause if it was going to be a throwaway passage? The rest of the chapter had nothing to do with any of that. It was so awkwardly out of place, like it had been slipped in later as an afterthought in order to tie everything together. Thanks for listening to my book, Snark, on YouTube. New videos are up every Monday, but stick around because I sometimes drop random videos on other days too. Just as a reminder, even if you can't financially support me, there are other ways to support me. The first is watching this video as well as all of my other videos. It's also important to like and subscribe. Finally, you can share this video with all of your friends so that they can help as well. If you're already caught up with all of my videos, you can go to Tumblr for my main book, Snarks, always free and updated every morning. And if you've already read all of my main snarks, then you can find even more snark on my Patreon. You can access it for $1 a month. Plus, you also get early access to my main Tumblr snark. Special thanks to Dawn, Phoebe, and Nikki for supporting me on Patreon already. If you want to hear your name in my video next week, either support me on Patreon or make a one-time donation. Do you like my snarks so much that you want me to snark your writing? I do that too. For just $3 per chapter, I will tell you how awful that your writing is. But not to worry if you feel like you couldn't take the criticism. I also offer regular book editing as well. $3 for every 5,000 words. You can contact me on any of my social media platforms if you have further questions. If you want to read some of the things that I've written, you can purchase my works on Amazon. I have a slew of erotic short stories and now 2 full-length novels. I also sometimes run flash sales on my stories, and if you don't follow me on any social media, you might want to do so just so you can know when I might be offering more things for free. Links for everything will be posted below. See you next week, guys.